And we're live?
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. Paton Miller, how are we doing? How?
Hey, Brett.
How are we doing?
I'm good. I'm tip-top.
Tip-top, that's a good way to be.
Yeah.
I wanted to just give you a little introduction real quick. Paton Miller, you live in Southampton, New York. Can you give people maybe like a little brief description of you, where you're from?
Well, I was born in Seattle in 1953. I'm 67 now. Moved to Hawaii when I was in my early teens and spent my teenage years there. We were summer people in Hawaii, so when we finally moved there, it was sort of like, it was like going home for me.
Yeah.
Although it was tough, a lot of problems, a lot of social problems in Hawaii, but I get along with people, so it was fine.
You're right.
But it was a crazy time. It was during the 60s, and the whole country was coming. I mean, Vietnam was in full bore, and our family home was outside of Honolulu, and I'd go down to Waikiki because that's where the action was, and you'd see the soldiers on. I always wondered, were they in battle 1 week, and then a week later were they in Waikiki? They
Right.
acted like they were.
Yeah, I bet.
But it was a crazy time. But it was so crazy. I dropped out of high school, not because I was a bad kid. Now, I remember this in the 60s, but because the whole place was crazy.
Right.
And there was a lot of violence at the school and a lot of drugs and stuff. And so I just went surfing and didn't stop.
Right.
And I graduated. I mean, I ended up going to a GED, and my classmates were pregnant girls and old Filipino gardeners. So I didn't even go to class.
Right.
The Hawaiian school system pretty much has created this to help people get high school diplomas.
Right. Yeah.
And then I did some traveling and came back and went to the Honolulu Academy of Arts. And when I was 20 years old, I left Oahu and traveled west and spent a year going around the world. A year in Asia, Middle East, and Europe.
Wow, the Middle East too.
Yeah. And then I flew into Kennedy in 1974 and had a standing invitation to visit a family friend in Southampton. Now, I'd never been to the East Coast before, and I thought Long Island was like 40 miles long.
Right.
I was shocked to hear there was like 120 or something.
Yeah.
And it was a flip of a coin. I had a ticket back to Honolulu. I could have just kept going. But I said, I was tired, I might as well come out. I came out, and the woman that had invited me said, you should go see the college. So I went to the college and went to the art department, because I was...
Which college is this?
Southampton College.
Okay.
Which no longer exists.
Right.
Stony Brook. But after the Honolulu Academy of Arts, when I traveled, spent that year in Asia, I was painting and drawing. So I went up to the college and went to the art department, and just by chance, the head of the department was there. And he said, I'd like to see those drawings, because we got into a conversation. And so I went back to where I was staying and got my portfolio, and he looked at them and he said, you want to go to school here? And I said, well, I've got $40 and a ticket to Honolulu.
How old are you at this point?
I was 20. I turned 21 on that trip.
That's crazy.
And he goes, no, you should come and compete for a scholarship, and which I did and won. So all of a sudden now I'm a college student. So 3.5 years later, I graduate with a BFA, a Bachelor of Fine Arts, and I got picked up by a pretty important New York gallery almost immediately.
Really?
So I started showing in New York, and that's pretty much it in a nutshell, except for the personal stuff, like, being married and having 2 kids and raising 2 kids out here. I've been on the East End now since 1974.
Wow.
Except for a 3-year stint when we went back to Hawaii. Lived on the island of Molokai. I was teaching at the leprosy colony there, Kalapapa leprosy colony, and we had a baby. And that's where my 28-year-old son was born. He's 28 now. He wasn't born when he was 28. I mention this because I feel so fortunate that I ended up on the East End.
Yeah.
I'm not really cut out for New York City, even though I think that being an artist in New York City, your whole career could change by a curator taking a cab ride to your studio. Yeah. But when you're out in Southampton, it's a little bit of a delayed reaction in that respect, but it suited my nature. Yeah. And now we have a nice home And now there's COVID-19. Both my sons and both sons' girlfriends and their dog are living at our house.
Oh wow, you got a full house.
So we got like Hotel Miller, and my wife and I thought we had. We've been together for about 32 years, and we thought that we had we were empty nesters, and we accepted that.
Right.
We didn't even think twice if it was good or bad. It just was.
Yeah.
But I have to say, it's really wonderful to have a second shot at being a father and a mother.
Yeah.
We're really enjoying it.
Yeah,
Luckily, we all get along really well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful underlying thing that's been happening across America, that people are moving back in with their parents. A lot of people have been like distressed about it and what have you, but I find myself being like, well, that'd be kind of great to go reconnect with the parents and being an adult now and spending some time together. So it's interesting to say that like for you to have the perspective of being, having a second chance at being a parent.
Yeah. Now we did a pretty good job the first time around.
Yeah.
But this is different because they're adults.
Yeah.
And our son that was in California looks like he's not going back.
Yeah.
He's going to live in. I think the plan is they're going to live in Brooklyn. Both my sons are filmmakers.
Right.
They just shot a commercial for Land's End.
Oh, awesome.
And now they're doing the editing for it, so they're making money.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently Los Angeles is kind of shut down.
Yeah, it's not good.
That's what I hear. But also I think part of it is not just the business, it's the fact that he realized how much he missed his family.
Yeah.
And his girlfriend, her family's from North Carolina, and the parents just drove up here. 12 hours later they were here.
Yeah.
So
came to visit.
Yeah, I mean you could fly to LA quicker.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's
something about it seems closer.
Yeah. Well, it's great though, because it's like I've met your one son, Christian, who is a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen any of his recent stuff, but I remember when I think he was in high school still when I met him, and he just won some award from Ross School, I believe, for a film that he had just created.
Well, he won the award from New York State.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. And that was good. And then he went to college, and he is a junior now at the School of Visual Arts. But the first assignment he handed in, the professor said, from a student who won New York State's top award for filmmakers, I expected more.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a little bit of a bitch slap there.
Yeah.
I felt like sending that professor flowers.
Yeah.
I think his head got a little big.
Yeah, those people along our road make us.
Yeah. That was a beautiful thing. He won every award. I mean, he won the reward from Guildhall. So he won his local award, and he won the state. Yeah. And it was just a good thing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty interesting being, a father. Like just even hearing that brief background of your story and your upbringing, being a father, and then them going on and taking on their own creative realm is got to be pretty rewarding as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think today's painters are filmmakers.
Yeah.
And we all they grew up with nonstop movies.
Yeah. We
spent 3 summers in Bali when Christian was 8 and Sam was 16, and then like 15, 16, 17, and Christian was 7, 8, and 9. Because they're 8 years apart.
Right.
And I painted all afternoon. We surfed in the morning. I painted all afternoon. Maybe go surfing again in the evening. It was just a lot of surfing, a lot of heavy physical exercise, and at night we would just be kind of catatonic with exhaustion.
Yeah.
And we watched, and in the supermarkets, we didn't even think about how illegal it was, but in the supermarkets they sell just like they sell eggplants or something, DVDs of first-run movies.
Right. Yeah.
And they sometimes you'll be watching the film and you'll see in Bali they have waiters service. There's usually waitresses.
Yeah.
And they'll come to you and ask if you want something. If you want a beer or a Coke or something, they'll bring it to you. And sometimes when you're watching the movie, you see the woman coming with a tray across because the pirates are pirating the film.
Yeah. Right.
But they're doing it in the most low-tech way.
Yeah.
Filming it.
Yeah.
And other ones are higher tech, but we would like watch a ton of movies, and we watched these really funny but bad films like Love Guru. Mm-hmm. And Nacho Libre.
I love that movie, by the way. That movie is hilarious.
It is hilarious.
It's such a good one. It's a great reference.
And it's amazing. We had our house in Canggu had a pool, and a 3-bedroom house, a beautiful house. Came with a chef, and she was a chef. She was a cook, but she was a wonderful cook. And a house cleaner and a gardener for $60 a night.
Wow. And
so we hit Bali at a good time.
Yeah.
And I hear it's gotten more expensive and more crowded now. we really don't want to go back. It's too far.
Yeah.
We already did that.
You did that whole mission.
Yeah.
For me, it's still a destination to go and experience.
You know, it's God, kudos to the Balinese. They retain their culture after being swamped by in the world. Because it is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen.
Right.
You know, I've been around and I've seen a lot, but the people are extraordinary.
Yeah.
They're just wonderful. We rented a car, and in Bali it's impossible to drive that place.
Yeah.
So we also had a driver. All this makes it sound like we're wealthy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would rent our house here, and it would pay for the trip there.
Yeah.
And our driver's name was Booty, and they have like a caste system there, you know, where if you're born in the lower caste, you're pretty much stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talked about those social structures and how different it is in the United States. And we asked him once, because we spent a lot of time driving. We would go out to the Phuket to go surfing at Uluwatu or something like that. And we asked him, what would it be like? Let's say if a guy on one side, on the far side of the island of Bali would decide, I'm tired of being in the lower caste. I'm going to move to the other side of Bali and pretend I'm from the high caste.
Yeah.
And he like looked off into space like, that's just the craziest idea in the world. So, there's no way you can get away with it. They would hear the way you talk.
They would know.
Yeah, it's almost like a Dickensian thing.
Right, yeah.
Anyways.
So they'd be able to pick up on the different dialect and just how you carry yourself maybe.
Yeah, but we sure had a lot of fun with Booty. And
I'm sure.
Yeah. But anyways, I would say you should go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not, as a family, we're not going to go.
Yeah.
And we do have a farm in Costa Rica, and we've had that for 25 years, and that's been sort of our tropical getaway during the wintertime.
Yeah. It's to me, I find it fascinating. You know, I think a lot of people, they work as a job, let's say, their whole lives, just to be able to maybe take that one vacation. And you and I have had conversations about living in Hawaii and going fishing for dinner and growing your own vegetables. And even when I met you, you had chickens, for example. But it's fascinating to me that, you know, from the arts, you've been able to create a life for yourself and your family, and to be able to provide, and also have an amazing experience to be able to go around the world, to go to Bali. I mean, I think it's a beautiful experience to be able to catch your own food, or even have to be able to catch your own food. And maybe looking back, you probably do too. But in the moment, it probably wasn't that way.
It was. I knew it was great.
Right.
Yeah, that was, and then we lived in Molokai. And I dove as a kid on Oahu, but I didn't have the same urgency because I had a full refrigerator at my mom and pop's house.
You're right. Yeah.
At our family home. But when we lived in Molokai from 1990 to 93, it was the recession of the late 80s had a hangover effect in the art world. There was no money being made. I was being represented by a very top gallery in New York City, and there was no money. And you know, I'd call up and say, any sales? I mean, it was a time when we had no money, but it was extraordinary how beautiful it was. We had, if Molokai is a ship, we were the bowsprit. We were the figure at the front of the ship. Our house looked across the Molokai Channel to Oahu, to my former shore. And I was painting and raising a baby, and as you referred to, I would go diving for food. And I remember one time just thinking, I was just ready to slip into the water to go diving with a Hawaiian sling, type of spear, and I was diving by myself, which is not really dangerous because if you're going to be eaten by a shark, the other guy's just going to watch. But I slipped into the water. Right before I slipped into the water, the sun was baking down on me. All I had on was a pair of shorts, my fins, my snorkel, because I was a free diver.
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore. I can't equalize. My ears
right.
are
Yeah.
shot. But anyways, and I really had a moment of self-awareness where I thought, I was about 38 years old. I thought, this is one of the greatest moments in my life.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything more than just me being a hunter-gatherer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what it all comes down to at some time.
And I think I did get dinner that night.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It would have been, that's when it's a good day.
Well, it's funny. Sometimes you'll find yourself. One time, it was like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. The spaceships were turtles, and all around me were these giant sea turtles. And I was like, "Wow, this is amazing." And then later in the village, I was telling our postman about that, and he goes, you know, the favorite food of a tiger shark is a turtle. And I said, geez, I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah.
And then just like a month later, I was surfing nearby, and a tiger shark struck a turtle. It took him right out of the water.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was an explosion of water and blood. And my friend from New York was just almost walking on water getting out.
I'm sure.
I said, slow down. The shark's busy.
Yeah.
Let's not distract
You
him.
got a second.
So we paddled slowly in and called it a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sea is just a whole other alien world.
Yeah, but going back to what you were saying about the lifestyle thing is, I didn't really have a choice. I was when I came here and I was a student, I started painting houses.
Yeah.
I didn't have any skills, and we had a team of guys that were artists and musicians, and they sort of like they're the type of creatures that hang out together.
Yeah.
And we all just started painting houses. In fact, the first job that we painted was Olivia Macha's house in Watermelon. And I got to know the Lichtenstein family. I met Dave surfing, his son, Roy Lichtenstein's son, Dave.
Right.
Dave asked me, I had only been here a few months, I was surfing, and I was surfing with this guy, I didn't know him, and he said, who are you? And I told him I was an art student at Southampton College. He goes, oh, my dad's an artist. And I said, well, what's his name? And he goes, Roy Lichtenstein. To which I said, never heard of him. I can tell you who Herb Connie was. He was a Hawaiian anthropological artist, a really great one.
Okay.
I can tell you who Duka Hanamoko is. I mean, that happened to me a lot, actually, when I first came to New York.
Yeah.
I went to a Yankee baseball game, and I saw an old guy with an old woman going into the Yankee box seats. I was in the box seats next to the Pontiac box seats, next to the Yankee organization box seats. And I said, everybody's looking at this tall, elegant man and this old woman. I said, who is that? And they said, that's Joe DiMaggio and Lou Gehrig's widow.
No way.
To which I said, who's that?
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, where are you from?
Yeah.
From Mars.
Yeah, totally.
I saw Pavarotti when he was just starting out. I got invited to go to the opera, and I'd never been to an opera.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I worked at the Seattle Opera, but I don't think I ever went to a performance. I just worked in the Seattle Opera for a short time. But it wasn't, well, it was okay. And then this guy comes on the stage, and all of a sudden it was great.
Really?
Yeah, it was a game changer.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. It was like, whoa. He just came and took over the stage, and that was Pavarotti.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, that was like in 1975.
That's pretty awesome.
I think his career was kind of new then.
Mm-hmm.
He probably was well known, but not to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice when you don't know.
But I didn't really have a choice. I was always an artist, and my parent, when I went to the Honolulu Academy of Arts, my parents, they asked a woman who was in the arts, and she said, yeah, he's a natural, spend the money, send him to the academy.
Yeah. And
all of a sudden I was at the Honolulu Academy of Arts, and I was like loving it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I went from being a high school dropout, then I got a GD, but I was a high school dropout, and all of a sudden I was like the best student. I just never missed a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. And so it was a round peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
For the first time in my life in school. I flunked third grade.
Really?
How do you flunk third grade?
Yeah, I don't know.
But somehow I managed to do it.
Yeah.
Between hiding under the desk because of the Cuban Missile Crisis. You've probably seen pictures of that. Well, I actually did that.
Well, they used to have us do that in class. They'd no, they'd have us do test drills, get underneath the desk, the fire, like a fire drill, but they'd have us do these different. I don't think they do that in school so much anymore.
Get
under the desk. What the hell?
Well, kiss your ass goodbye.
Yeah, that's
it's like kiss your friend's ass goodbye.
Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's a little bit different in school now. The way, I actually was driving by the Sag Harbor School the other day, and they were doing a fire drill, and I just saw the kids just kind of slowly moseying out, and I was like, I remember just being that way, just do the fire drill and just not really actually think anything of it. But there's a reason why we have those drills, is because people really did get shuffled out of schools and things like that at one time. Yeah,
well, it's also schools can't catch on fire.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have any choice. My parents were all for it, and I'm eternally grateful for that. And
so they were supportive from the beginning.
Yeah, they never said, well, I wasn't showing any promise of anything else.
Right.
It wasn't like, it wasn't like I was planning on being a doctor or something.
Yeah.
I had been making drawings my whole life.
Yeah. So even in grade school, high school, you're just drawing, painting.
Yeah. I around third, fourth grade when around the time I flunked third grade, I took a drawing of a Tyrannosaurus Rex at school, and they didn't believe I did it.
Really?
Yeah. And they said, do it again. I said, what do you mean do it again? I spent like 3 or 4 hours on this, you know. So, and my father kept drawing. I lampooned the family. I drew caricatures of the family. And, it's funny, you know, I teach now. I taught at Southampton College, and last time I taught it at a college was, well, the one and only time was Southampton College. And on my contract, it had an oath. I had never seen an oath before. And the oath was that I wouldn't try to overthrow the Constitution of the United States from my position as art instructor. So I went to the head of the department, the same guy that urged me to apply for the scholarship.
Wait, he was still there?
Yeah, he was still there. Years later, Don Kirka.
Holy smokes.
And I went to Don and said, you know, it's funny, Don, referring to that oath. I said, it's funny, I was planning on overthrowing the Constitution of the United States from my position as art instructor in this pissant school. He goes, ha, Patton, just sign it. I said, I'm not signing it. I said, this smacks of McCarthyism to me. And so I never signed it. And, you know, they stiffed me like 30% of my fee. And I went to Don and I said, what's this all about? You guys promised me X and I got Y. And he said, there's no money or something like that. And there was no point in complaining about it. But I've taught things like the art barge out here and things like that. But now I just teach privately.
Wait, so that was a whole happening though?
What's that?
Because you didn't comply to.
Maybe.
I mean, it'd be rather ambitious to overthrow the Constitution. What the hell?
Know, I think I did overthrow the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe that was a whole disruption right there.
No one ever heard about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I threw a revolution and no one came.
They're like, wow, someone read line 3. What the hell?
But
So going back to like when you were in, you know, catching your food and you're painting and did you ever have like a moment where you're like, this is going to be my career, and this is like, was it earlier on before you went to school? Did you even foresee having a life as like a professional artist, let's say, or you know, selling paintings?
That's a really good question, because when you look back on it, you think it's an awfully daunting proposition. But you know, I never thought twice about it.
Yeah.
I just did it. And I've never really been that. I've always been able to have an amazing life with almost no money.
Yeah.
I don't know how my wife and I, we go, how do we do all this?
Mm-hmm.
How do we end up with a home and travel the world and stuff? I think probably part of it is that we just didn't screw up.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of a miracle in a way. And I guess maybe the point is that you don't really need a lot of money to have a good time.
Yeah.
But we, out of not much, we seem to have done pretty good.
Yeah.
And I mean, I still don't have any security. Who knows? Like this COVID-19 thing, I've been selling paintings, but it could. I was talking to Nick Aquavella the other day. You ever hear of Aquavella Galleries?
Yeah.
It's one of the best galleries in the world. I would love to show there, but they show mostly dead guys.
Yeah.
Anyways, I saw Nick surfing, and I said, you know, Nick, I just sold a painting a couple days ago, and maybe it's the last one. And he goes, my father thinks that way.
Really?
This is Nick's father. What's his first name? Anyways, Aquavella, the guy, one of the best, really one of the most respected art dealers in the world, and he still thinks that way.
Yeah.
I think it's just, you just have to be hardwired to be able to accept the fact that there is no security. But you know what? The world has come to me. People who work in corporate, back in the old days, they could have a career for their whole lives. Now corporations are being sold and people are being laid off like crazy.
Yeah.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, exactly.
No security.
Yeah.
But I've never really, I don't say that with glee. I'm just joking that I've never really, it's never bothered me.
Yeah. You've been balanced with it even without the security.
If I had to go back to painting houses, I'd do it. Charles Bukowski said, I'll go back to the salt mines if they'll have me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you just do what you have to do.
Right.
And now I went to an office in Riverhead a year and a half ago, sat down, gave the woman some information. 15 minutes later, she said, well, this is a Social Security office. She goes, well, you could have done this 6 months ago. Would you like that back pay? Yeah.
Yes, I would.
And she says, and you'll be getting $2,000 a month, Social Security. It's like, I didn't think I'd ever get that. I really just never expected it.
Well, it's like what we hear is that it's not available anymore. People aren't getting it. It's like what is kind of blasted out.
That.
Well, that's what I kind of thought.
Got it under the wire.
Yeah.
Because I would more expect me not to get it.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying.
But they take the 5 best years of your life, not the 5 worst years.
Oh, that's how they compile it.
That's how they make the average. And I would have thought maybe I'll get like $500 a month or something.
Yeah.
Some piker's amount. And you know the word piker comes from?
Mm-mm.
It's from it's a term from the recession. That a lot of the Okies, you've heard of that expression.
Yep.
Were from all across the country. The most popular name for a county is Pikes County, and that's where the word piker came from.
Interesting.
You never heard the expression.
I haven't actually.
I love expressions.
I actually do too.
Yeah.
And knowing the origin of them is nice.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a phenomena to embark on a life that has no security.
Yeah.
And not have it bother you too much. I do formally think about I'm not just willy-nilly going through life.
For sure.
If Nancy, my wife, does all the books, if she says we're broke, I'll go paint houses.
Yeah.
Although I used to be the guy that was up on 40-foot, 50-foot ladders. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's different.
Do you think that
I actually will never paint houses again.
That's the mindset. Mindset.
Yeah, but that's the mindset, right?
Yeah.
If you have, you do what you have to do.
Yeah, totally. And I think that you're, like, from what I know of you, it shows that. I mean, because like I said, we were talking before the podcast, and one of the things I'm really interested in is people that pursue their passion through thick or thin. I think a lot of people take, the financially viable road versus really sticking to their craft and their passion. And
I call those smart people.
I've heard of them.
Yeah. None of them hang around with me.
Yeah, that's amazing.
My youngest son's girlfriend, who's living with us, just got offered a job with a major bank. She's a junior in Fordham. Mm-hmm. She got 100 on some tests that most people get 80 on.
Right.
She's a desirable person. And I said, well, she's Japanese. And I said, Okana, one of these, I foresee that in the future you'll get out of your limousine and you'll walk past a guy selling pencils, and it'll be me. Pencil, Kana? Yeah. I can give you a discount.
That's amazing.
But we've sort of got this far. I think we're fine.
Yeah. But I mean, I think do you think that potentially even living with a life with no security has maybe lended itself in how you paint? And because I guess I could backtrack the question, what inspires your painting, but do you also think that the way that your life is just like subsequently is lended itself to what ends up on canvas?
What ends up on canvas is a think of a mix master. Right, your whole life, and it's in the back of your brain. What's in the front of your brain is useless. That's like, where's my car keys, type of stuff, or what's happening right now, right? But I always think it's like a waking dream, So for me, everybody's different, but for me, it's like that. It's like a little door opens up and imagery comes out.
Yeah, things happen.
Yeah. And my older son, Sam, who's 28 now, is after years of drawing, he's a filmmaker, but he's painting. And I said, and he's like, kind of like concerned about the paintings. And I said, if I could take that self-doubt out of your head and throw it away, I would do it. I would love to do it for you. Because what you have to do is just work. It's something automatic should happen. And if it doesn't happen, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But you have to get into a place in your brain where it's just pretty free flowing,
Yeah.
I just met an artist recently. I curate those shows that you've been part of. East End Collected at Southampton Art Center.
Yep.
And I just met a guy who was a businessman. He had a PR firm in LA, made a lot of money, and then he got COVID-19. He almost died, and he came out of a coma. I think he's probably mid-30s. He was really messed up. He had to learn how to walk again. And he almost died.
That's insane.
He was in probably an induced coma with a respirator.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, he's painting like a house on fire, and he paints sort of like Keith Haring, big poppy thing. I loved what he's doing. Patrick Peter. He just came to town. I'm putting him in the next show. I remember halfway through my rant, I was thinking, I've always had a special skill of seeing myself from about 30 feet up.
Yeah.
remember the first time I got dumped by a girl. I saw her as a potential girlfriend. She didn't see me as anything.
Yeah.
And she made it clear, and I moped around for half a day, and then I realized I saw myself from 30 feet up.
Yeah.
And said, "You're a kid, you know. Get over it."
Yeah.
And I got over it right away.
Yeah.
That story helped my son when he had a significant girlfriend, and they were living thousands of miles apart. So it ended. He was just about ready to. He was on vacation in Hawaii. He was just about ready to paddle out the pipeline. My older son is a world-class surfer.
Really?
And he was all messed up from receiving the news that it was over. And he realized that if he paddles out in this big day pipeline with this attitude, he's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
So, halfway through my rant, I was thinking, well, I'm being an asshole. Oh well. But
I remember, honestly though, that is one of the things I do love about you though, Patton, honestly, because we both were being a little bit of an asshole as well, but we were both able to step back and say and totally change the conversation. We didn't leave that conversation in being hostile. We left that conversation working together and being like, I'll see you in a few weeks and let's talk about this collective. So
it's very rare for me to lose my temper.
Yeah.
I'm an even-keeled guy.
Yeah.
But I just sort of got on a jag.
Yeah.
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 And, jags are temporary things.
For sure.
Yeah.
But like I said, to me, it's the most commendable thing to be able to come back and be like, okay, I do this collective. And so circling back, this East End Collective is a show that Patton curates of. How many artists is it? Is it generally 20 or
170 so far? But now with this one, this is number 6.
How many artists are in it per time?
About 30.
About 20, like 30.
Yeah, about 30.
So 30, and so
it's a big building,
It is. It's
a former. For all those who might have it confused with another place. It's the old former parish art museum on Job's Lane in Southampton. It's that Atterbury building. It's that big, beautiful brick stone building.
So awesome.
Yeah, it's a great place, and they give me the whole place.
Yeah.
People often are curious, how did I get that gig?
Yeah.
What happened was when they were considering starting an arts organization after the Parish Art Museum moved to Watermill, they had an empty building. They didn't know what to do with it. And, they had a think tank, and it was at David Bonet's house, who's a collector of mine, and he said, let's bring an artist to get his point of view, and let's bring Patton in. So I was invited to the think tank. And they asked me the first person to speak. And I said, well, if you're going to open an art institution, if you want to survive, you're going to have to be loved.
Yeah.
And the way to be loved is to reflect what's happening here and now.
Yeah.
So the show is not really about what I like or dislike. It's about what's happening here and now.
Yeah, the locals.
I gave a watercolor to one of the museums out here for Fairfield Porter's, whose studio I worked in. I worked in Fairfield Porter's studio for 23 years. I found about 25 oils and 75 watercolors, millions of dollars worth of artwork. But I found him before he became really famous.
Right.
And I gave them all to his widow. And she gave me a watercolor as a finder's fee. And I said, you don't have to do that, it's your stuff. And she said, I insist. So I had it, so I ended up giving it to one of the museums out here. And they told me it was the first border that they ever had, which tells you what? That tells you that back in the 50s, when Porter, but he wasn't well known, but still, he was very respected by everybody. de Kooning was one of his best friends, and so they didn't get in the car and go to a studio, and he would have given them. The point being is that it's very easy to miss what's going on. In order to know what's going on, you have to exhibit it. You got to throw it up on the wall and see if it sticks. So it's not really about what I like or dislike. It's pretty much about who's doing what. And sometimes it's people I've never met. A lot of times. At the first few shows, I knew almost everybody. Show at number 6 are people I haven't met. One guy named Peter Dakzowski, I saw his work at the small gallery at the Rogers Memorial Library in Southampton. This guy's got a full body of work that's very sophisticated. It looks like William Blake, kind of like mythic. I asked him, where do you get your peyote? The work is incredible, and I've never heard of him before or since. I don't know where he went. I know he lives out here. He paints in his mother's basement or something like that. And then you have other people who have huge international careers, like Shimon Oshtagi, a Russian painter. I can't pronounce his last name, but he's had a huge career. He got drunk and he wouldn't get off the stage. But what a brilliant artist! Just crazy how good he is. For me, it's been a voyage of discovery for me. And now we're on number 6. So we've done it. We just went biannual last year, but last year was a wash because of COVID-19. And now it's coming up in January this year, January 30th, which is fine because people are here anyways. And it's going to be up for 2.5 months. Yeah, 30 artists, and in fact, after this, I'm going to see Bastien Schmidt and her husband Frederick. Yeah, so it's been a lot of fun for me too. Susan Rothenberg, she just died recently. Was married to Bruce. I forget his last name. Incredible art. What a team they were. But I was visiting a friend in Southampton, and I saw a credit card go down. It said Susan Rothenberg. I said, "Are you the artist Susan Rothenberg?" She said she is, and she was with her dealer. And they came to my studio, and we had a really nice visit.
That's awesome.
I invited them. They walked across a parking lot, through a hedge, across a yard, and into my studio. It was when I was at Fairfield Porter Studio, which was right on the edge of Southampton Village.
Oh, awesome.
I mean, they would literally walk through hedges with a strange man. It must have been my sweet face.
Yeah.
But had a nice visit with them, and I was like 25 years old at that time, and they said, "Yeah, stay with it. You're good."
Yeah.
They didn't offer me a show though.
Oh well. Gave some good words anyway.
Yeah. And I think they had a memorable visit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like with your work, obviously you paint. How would you describe your work? I guess what medium do you call your work? Obviously you paint, but I know there's something like textural about your canvas and how you acquire kind of some just eclectic things to put down to canvas for what you actually paint on. Well, how would you describe your work to people that are just listening? I guess.
Well, I paint the people I meet and the places I see and the things that I remember. And then there's that whole thing about the actual physicality of the paint. That's very much what you're into. And that is something that just comes from time. My paintings have a real kind of worked quality to them. I actually, from house painting, I remember sanding a door down once and going through, the houses out here can be a couple hundred years old.
Mm-hmm.
And you go through you can almost like an archaeological dig, you go through the different colors. They're the 50s, those sort of weird pastels. And one time I said to the homeowner, I said, this door is a testimony to the age of this house. Don't paint it. Of course, no one listens to me, and they just had me paint it. But I learned a lot from de Kooning was a house painter.
Yeah. I
learned a lot from painting by doing house painting. And some of it wasn't just painting, but was sanding things down.
Yeah.
And so the grinders that I used back in those days when I was a younger fella, Makita grinders and stuff. I take those to my paintings. I really don't like the beginning of a painting. It seems thin and kind of wishy-washy and stuff, and I get past that as quickly as I can.
Yeah. So
my paintings do reflect my life, and then the physical thing is just based on my love of antiquity.
Yeah.
There's frescoes in Pisa that I'll never forget. I've been there a few times. They're all about the whole human experience, birth, life, death, and then you have people going to heaven and to hell, right? And the heaven part's okay, but you can tell the artists really love painting hell.
Yeah.
That's it's like Hieronymus Bosch. He loved painting those demons.
Yeah.
And they're tearing people apart and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
a lot more fun than that Hardy Christian stuff that everybody going out.
But when I look at your paintings, because you have such a unique style to how you paint, and you can obviously it's nice when you can walk into someone's home. Like I've many times, after meeting you and seeing like a couple of your paintings, I'm like, oh, Paton, and then we get to talking. But a lot of like what I see in your work too, it is like these eclectic things that could be in your brain. It's like almost like a donkey on like as a rolling like a rocking chair donkey, but there's a lot of figurines and things like that. Like is there a message in that as far as like kind of turning some of these like creatures like kind of like making them obtruse and different and and oblonged, and what is the style and reasoning behind that?
Well, I do love donkeys.
Yeah.
So you mentioned donkeys. There's certain animals that in Hawaii they call it a hamakua, which is like your spirit animal. And for me, I would think, it's probably a dolphin because I love to surf so much. I think it's a donkey. A hamakua picks you.
Yeah.
You don't pick it.
Yeah, totally.
So, I'd like to be the dolphin flying out of the water. And,
this majestical thing.
But I think it's a jackass. But like the farm we have in Costa Rica, we bought this place 25 years ago with a few friends. It's big. It's 60 acres. This pueblita that it's in, all of a sudden became my outdoor studio. I started painting everybody.
Yeah.
And we'd go down there for a period of time, and I'd come back with 10 or 12 paintings. And then the paintings I do here are often based on what I saw there or other travels. When I traveled, spent that year in Asia when I was a 20-year-old. I turned 21 on the trip, as I said. I was painting the people I met, places I saw. And then, of course, as the older you get, the imagination kicks in more, and you start dealing with things that your imagination pops up.
Yeah.
And it's not even imagination. It's almost like that little door that opens up to that collective consciousness of your whole life.
Yeah.
And then you end up with images that you don't even expect. So it's a combination of, it's a good yin and yang between the external and the internal.
Yeah.
And when I'm in my studio, it is based on things I've done, but of course it's internalized because I'm in my studio.
Right.
I'm not in my farm in Costa Rica painting Hilario,
who
lived across the lane,
right,
and would come and sit for a painting.
Mm-hmm.
That's I have nostalgia about that because that's sometimes I think I wouldn't want to paint just strictly what's in front of me at the moment all the time, but it's nice when you do it because when you, let's say 9 months of being in the studio and working with whatever you can dredge out of your brain, it's nice to go someplace and just paint an old man sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
That whole tradition that I love so much with the Van Gogh and so many artists that would paint just a person.
Yeah.
Just sitting there.
Just sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they let them carry the story.
Do you find that, because for me, I find this to be true, and I'm curious of other artists and their thoughts, but do you feel like some of these thoughts that do come to us, that they're not ours? Like they just kind of come to us, and like you say, like some of these things unexpectedly end up on canvas. Do you think that sometimes it's like, maybe it is your subconscious, but it seems like sometimes our thoughts really aren't ours? Like how do we derive it, like landing on a thought? Maybe it's like, even as far as like an idea or an invention. Sometimes obviously it's like, okay, I need a way to cut this piece of paper, so I'll create these scissors. That's obvious. But it seems like so many ideas that I have and things that end up on canvas, obviously my work being more like it's just truly abstract and not figurative. Do you feel that way ever? Like, because it seems like maybe you alluded to that slightly.
It's a really good hypothesis. I'm not sure. I don't think I have an answer. Mm-hmm. I think you go into that nether part of your brain, and it seems to be what I call the collective consciousness of your whole life, sort of the junk drawer of your life,
Yeah.
You open it up, there's a Super Bowl and some fishing line and,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
an old dice.
Yeah, exactly. Some cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's nice to think that maybe some of it is stuff that is not really yours.
But you think it is ours?
I kind of lean that way.
Yeah.
I think it's you got what you earn. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's that intangible stuff is you don't know anyways.
You're right.
Like when I teach, I keep it nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
I try to teach drawing skills.
Yeah.
What's nice is that it's almost always different from what you think it's going to be.
Right.
And that's something that I think is really cool.
Yeah.
You have to let it go. It's nice, and it's nice. Maybe this is one aspect of it: is the influences that you get from art history and from your relationships with other artists.
Yeah,
they become part of your work.
Right. Yeah,
and they weren't before, so those in a way were not yours.
Yeah.
This painter that I told you about, Patrick Peter. I was thinking about him when I was painting the other day.
Yeah.
See how free he is.
Yeah, totally.
He's like a piano falling down a staircase.
Yeah.
He's not. I love that. I much rather feel inspired. I mean, we went to the Prado last October when we were in Spain. It was like second time I've been in the Prado, separated by 45 years. I went to the Prado when I was on that trip, the first trip through Asia and stuff in Europe in 1974, and then I ended up going back just last year. 45 years.
That's crazy.
Later.
Was it like you remembered it?
No, they improved the museum a lot. When I was there, I remember windows being open and pigeons flying in and out.
Really?
And stuff. Yeah. Now it's much a state-of-the-art museum.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how accurate my memory is on that, but I remember the louvered, those big floor-to-ceiling windows. They're like doors.
Yeah.
Just open. you know, open to the elements.
Yep.
I didn't see any birds, but they could fly in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, to stand in front of that great execution painting by Goya, wow. Those Velázquez's that are in there,
Mm-hmm.
wow.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, that's the achievement. An art historian once said to me about it, he was looking at this Caravaggio reproduction of a Caravaggio still life, and he's going, you know, if aliens come to Earth to destroy us, show them this painting, maybe they'll reconsider.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll say, well, yeah, maybe we should give him another chance.
One more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you look at that Caravaggio, even though he was a murdering son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And he was murdered in turn. What a great artist.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really great. I mean, the history of art is this guy Patrick Peter. He doesn't know anything about art. He's painting, but he has no idea about art history.
Yeah.
And I'm throwing names at him like Basquiat. His work reminds me of Basquiat too.
Did he at least know who Basquiat was?
No.
That's amazing.
Well, maybe he did. There was a lot of artists. He wasn't really thinking about or aware of a lot of artists.
Yeah.
And yeah. Anyways,
I would say, you know, for me, getting into art was similar, and a lot of people would always, like, when I first started painting, I guess, you know, as trying to, you know, creating a body of work that would be worthy of showing after I'd shown like my first piece, and people really wanted to see like a full body of my style, and people would always give me names, you know, Gerhard Richter and you know, Stanley.
Your work reminds me of Richter.
It did in the beginning as well, but it I do find, like, obviously it's a squeegee pull.
It's a compliment.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you, by the way. But it's like people would tell me that in the beginning, and I would almost be like, well, no, it's my style, and I don't even know who that guy is. Yeah. And I really truly didn't.
Well, that happens. We're all part of a club.
Right.
Different factions of a club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I really.
The big club is you're an artist.
Yeah.
The sub chapters are what kind of artists are you?
Exactly.
So you just belong to that crew.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I remember just being like, you know, not wanting to look into other artists. I didn't want to feel that I was replicating something. Yeah. And but now as time goes on, it's interesting that you say that, because I people ask me, like, I did an interview and they're like, well, so who are you inspired by as, you know, as an artist? And I was like, I didn't have like big names to tell them. I was like, it's local artists. It's people that I know. It's people that I interact with. Mm-hmm. It's people that I see going to art shows and talking about their art and talking to people and being themselves and showing their creativity. And to me, that's what I'm inspired by. So as much as I am inspired by Gerard, I mean, who couldn't be inspired by such an individual? I mean, he is a legend in his own right. But I really am more inspired by the local.
That's interesting, because I think more about history.
Yeah. So where I was going with that is that I made it my duty to learn about art history and learn and just take in as much as I possibly could.
Due diligence.
And it's to not go to school for that and not be taught an orthodox way of, like, you know, what paintings are representative of what and what era and why is this important. And it was at that point when I really started realizing, whoa, actually art is actually super important. It's responsible for everything. The text in our books, the text on our signs, the clothes that we wear. Yeah. It's literally all encompassing.
I think about the history. How's history written? It's written with war and art.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there might be one or two I'm missing, but you get my point.
Yeah, totally.
You know,
it really does give us a timeline of things.
Yeah, and it reflects war.
Yeah.
Often.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, a lot of paintings are about that. I was just I teach on Zoom, and I was just the assignment I gave out to my students. I only teach one class a week, and it's today at 3:00. The instruction I gave was every week's a different lesson, and this week's lesson is about political cartooning. Yeah. And since we're so inundated with politics, I said, pick your politician that you want to lampoon and lampoon them. Yeah. And I mentioned Thomas Nast, American 19th century political cartoonist, one of the best. And of course, the greatest of all time, Daumier. Daumier is one of my favorites, a 19th century French caricaturist and a painter too. So
you're still big into caricatures?
Well, you know, I don't do them really, but I just love political cartooning. I love political art. I think it's it's well, the rest of us are just making pictures for people's living rooms.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I mean, these guys are taking on they're fighting City Hall.
They're putting it out there.
Yeah, and I think I just, you know, I'm working from a part of the brain that's a little bit different.
Right.
But I admire it a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, guys like Diego Rivera and, you know.
It's like the newspaper graffiti.
Yeah, well, it used to be a much bigger thing.
Yeah.
I think in newspapers in the 19th and early 20th century, it was a much bigger thing.
Yeah.
Guys like Boss Tweed and those kind of characters were always lampooned. And artists took chances.
Yeah.
You know? I admire that a lot.
So you admire that, and do you? Who do we know that is taking chances like that? That's in that art world. That's merging it into the art world.
It's a good question. I can't think of anybody.
Yeah, because even when I went down to I went to Basel again last year, and I showed at Scope, and there was a lot of political stuff. There was a lot of like pieces, you know, a lot of like photoshopped, you know, fire burning, you know, no miracles here, whatever it is, you know.
It might be the graffiti world, you know, that whole urban thing.
Which I do love the graffiti world. It's really grown on me. It's so funny because I remember being a kid.
Well, what's his name? The graffiti artist, the guy that no one knows is
Banksy.
Huh? Banksy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a political bent to his work.
The whole thing is all political. Yeah.
I like I said, I think it's great.
Yeah.
Every time I have this conversation, I think I should do it.
Yeah.
When I get in my studio, I just go. My river goes a different way.
Yeah.
Not everybody can be one.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's a risky thing because I mean the one guy just got shot in Paris, like, you know what, 7 years ago.
Oh, you're right. The whole thing against Muhammad.
Yeah, remember? I mean, for drawing a cartoon.
Yeah. Remember when that newspaper got attacked?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
that. Memory shot. I should be able to remember
that. 7 years time.
What the hell?
Well, we were just talking earlier, even outside, that you were saying that you've surfed for 50 years and now you're doing stand-up paddleboard.
Yeah.
But
I'm surfing on a stand-up paddleboard.
And surfing.
Still catching waves.
Still catching waves.
Yeah, still catching. I just caught waves yesterday.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
What the hell? I mean, 50 years of surfing. I mean, just for anybody. I don't think a lot of people don't do 50 years of anything.
Well, surfing is a funny sport. It does beat you up a little bit, but not like some sports.
Yeah.
I started in the late 50s and went through the whole thing, you know, the longboard, the shortboard revolution. And like I said, I surfed until my neck injury kept me from paddling like a normal surfboard. So now I stand up.
Yeah.
And the alignment of my spine standing up is much more comfortable.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I love it. I go out there and I can see so far when I'm standing up on my board.
Yeah.
And I catch a lot of waves.
Yeah, I bet.
I get into like a thing where I'm just going around a circuit.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, it's a big family thing.
Yeah. Your son surf.
My older son surfs. My younger son did surf, but my younger son is he's like a great athlete. He had his baseball career that when he was in Little League. They won the region. That was really exciting. It was the first time that because my older son's a surfer, we never got a chance to be Little League parents.
Yeah, totally.
And we were under strict orders never to say a word. And of course we didn't. But we put our lawn chairs up and sit there like Ma and Pa Kettle.
Yeah.
and watch our boy
All-American
excel at baseball.
Awesome though.
He was just he was the catcher and he didn't have the strongest arm to second base. But what he had was brains.
Yeah.
He's a very smart guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, the decisions he made, he ran the team. And if he didn't catch, they lost.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a good catcher, the ball's squirming all over the place.
Right, yeah.
But and he was a great snowboarder, but surfing wasn't his thing. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
But he loves the beach and he loves, so our lives revolve around the ocean.
Yeah.
And Sam, like I said, is a world-class surfer. He's 6'3", like 185 pounds of solid muscle, and he surfs at 6'0".
That's awesome.
I don't know how he does it.
That's amazing.
It's like I always said to these guys, you ride boards that are too small.
Yeah.
But they make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm fascinated by the surfing culture out here. I mean, because like I was telling you before, I didn't grow up surfing, but it's really got my attention. I mean, everyone's like, you got to get a wetsuit, you got to come get in the water, and
it is. I advise everybody to do it because we're surrounded by water. So why not be in the water? You see whales and dolphins and turtles, and seahorses, manta rays. Oh yeah, all those I've seen. Different times of year, different years. The seahorse thing came just once. So we had a million seahorses.
Really?
Yeah.
How big are they?
Like tiny, like 2 inches. Or
But you
something.
just put your head underwater, you see them, or you
They're
can.
all over the place.
Really?
Yeah, it was a seahorse explosion.
What a crazy creature.
Yeah.
What a bizarre creature.
It is a bizarre creature.
That is so funny.
But it is like, for me, it's I just feel, I still, a lot of people, you should stretch before you go surfing. If I see waves, I'm across the beach like a little kid. I'm out there like that. Yeah.
I love that. Because you're 63?
67.
So you're 67?
Yeah.
You don't even look 67.
And I look more like 70, right?
But no, I mean, I find that amazing. I mean, I know so many people in their 60s that are just, there's no way they're even barely getting in the water.
Yeah, no, a friend of mine, an art dealer I work with, said, if there was all 67 years old, there'd all be dead bodies floating around.
That's a very different image of 67-year-old surfing.
Yeah,
just bobbing,
dead bodies,
just
dead
bobbing in the
bodies,
water.
No, but I've been doing it my whole life, so for me it's second nature.
Yeah.
It was great the other day. I had a moment where I got to the beach. I didn't know my older son was there, but he was there, and he came running down, and he had his dog with him, and I said, "Oh, great, you're here, Sammy." And he had his clothes on, so I knew he was done surfing. But he was up there with his crew, and I went out there and just killed it.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those things. That's my dad.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's a real sweet moment.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's ultimate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I aspire to be that way one day.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't a father until I was 38.
Yeah.
Yeah, I waited.
Yeah.
It was just perfect for me.
Totally.
Because I didn't have any money, and I mean, there were times when we didn't have any money when we were parents.
Yeah.
I mean, we never let money get in the way of doing anything, but it was for a lot of different reasons. It was good to wait for me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because I mean, it's like you said, it's even money, but like one of the things I am still fascinated about, like even within your life though, is that it's you made experiences happen, which is I think similar in my life. On nothing.
Yeah.
Balling on a budget, they say,
Yeah.
and I think that's fascinating, because it's like, I talk to even myself now, it's like I haven't made the time to go to Bali and make that happen, but
Well, you've been a hard-working guy your whole life.
yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely.
you got this huge excavation business, and you said you got 20 vehicles now.
Yeah.
That's a lot on your plate.
It's definitely not nothing. I've actually been.
No, that's admirable.
Yeah,
There's a lot of lazy people out there.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I was just talking to a Vietnamese guy, and I said, were you part of that crew that came in the 70s? And he goes, no, I came to a different part of the United States in the 80s. And he goes, was there a crew out here in the mid to late 70s? I said, yeah, there was a group of Vietnamese that came, and within 5 years they had businesses and houses, houses.
Yeah.
They made the American beer drinking fool look like a beer drinking fool.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And it showed that immigrant energy,
Yeah.
So I always admired that.
Yeah, you had a construction background too, no?
Yeah, well, not really a construction background, but I painted houses.
Okay.
I told you that.
Yeah, that's right.
Then we did do some building.
Right. Yeah.
But mostly it was just painting houses, and the thing about it was that it was like we would, I was like in my mid-20s. A builder said to me, "Boy, we didn't know what you guys were about at first." And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, we'd be working all day and wondering where are the painters." Right? And then we'd go home and come back the next day, and a whole bunch of shit had been done.
Do it at night.
And we worked at night.
Yeah.
we would go surfing at like 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Till like 10. Then we'd surf all day if it was good.
Yeah.
And then we'd go to work at 4 and work till like 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
Then we'd wake up at 6, go surfing.
Yeah.
We could do it. We were young.
What are the hours of when you paint now? Do you paint at night?
I'm very strict about that.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. I'm a diurnal guy. Boy, when the sun goes down, I'm done.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm done. That's why an ideal situation for me would be to be here and then go to Chile in the wintertime when the sun is up all day.
Yeah.
I surfed Chile 10 years ago and loved it. It's like where I was looks like Monterey, California.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. But I'm not going to do that. And now with COVID-19, I can do it. But I love those long days.
So when you're painting though, you like to paint first thing in the morning?
Yeah, a lot of times I've been playing a game called pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like a platform tennis type of thing.
Yep.
So I do that from 8 to 10 or so. My wife does it too, and we do it together. And then I go to the studio from like 11 to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some days I teach. And
do you work on one painting at a time?
no, I have a tendency to bounce around, but I focus on one painting at a time. But I get distracted.
Yeah.
Other paintings will pull me sometimes.
Yeah.
But right now I'm just doing a painting of a composition I've been thinking about for years and never did it.
Yeah.
It's a guy going down a river, surrounded by giant redwoods and boulders and bears.
Cool.
It is cool.
That's awesome.
It's like a Jack London kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Painting. Yeah.
So where are you showing coming up? Do you have like any upcoming shows?
Talk about a life of no security. I got nothing going on.
That's likewise though.
Nothing.
As far as art goes, I have zero.
I've been selling out of my studio, which is great, but I have no shows. I up to this point, I've always had shows, and I've shown a lot in New York. I've shown a lot out here. I've shown a lot in the West Coast, L.A., San Francisco, Seattle, Portland. I got nothing going on.
Yeah.
And it's just like part of that hard wire of like, well, we'll always make it work.
Yeah.
Luckily, I don't have a lot of overhead. We paid our house off. College is a big deal.
Yeah.
Our younger son's going to college, and that's going to take about $250,000.
Jesus.
And that's our savings.
Yeah.
So when he's done with college, I'll be a highly educated young man, and I'll be selling pencils. It's okay.
That's amazing.
Like I said, I'll go back to the salt mines if they'll have me.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, because like I'm in the same boat, and this is probably the first year of having really nowhere to go with my art. I mean, I've called up a couple galleries, and they're like, oh, we have a show up right now, and I was like, okay, well,
they're hurting big time.
They're hurting really bad. That's kind of why I came with that concept of having that mobile art rig, and having it on my truck. Obviously, that's going to only happen in the summertime, but it's like going into winter and in the season. It's like, well, and I've been making some phone calls. And I'm just like every which way I go, it just seems to be like a closed door.
Yeah, it's new ground we're in.
Yeah, and I do see that as a blessing. I'm like, okay, there's juice in this somewhere. There's something here that's good. I just don't know what it is yet.
I'll tell you a funny story. We in my career, I've had a lot of ups and downs. Normal, right? Mm-hmm. And that gallery I was with, they picked me up when I got out of college. I was there for 14 years. It was an exclusive.
Holy shit! It
was a long time. It was like a marriage.
Yeah.
And when I left it because the recession in 1980, 89, 90. I left that gallery around 93, and it was not because the gallerist was great. She's wonderful. It was just that I was a new father, and I felt like I couldn't wait for someone else to make my life happen.
Yeah.
And if I was going to fail, I wanted to blame myself.
Yeah.
Not think about what my dealer was doing.
Yeah.
And there was no business anyway, so I had nothing to lose. I forgot where I was going with this. Let's have a glass of water.
And so goes life. We were talking about no place to be.
I pulled it back out of the
Yes.
Yeah, excuse me, we'll stand by.
Yes. I got you while you drink.
So anyways, after I left that gallery, some artists, sometimes artists can be tough on each other. It's okay, he's still my friend. He said, Paton's washed up. And when I heard that, I said, well, at least I was in the sea.
Yeah.
But I was washed up. That's when I went back to house painting.
Yeah.
I went from having shows in Europe and one-man shows in New York City to go back to house painting. Mm-hmm. So, I had no choice. I was a new father. We came back from Hawaii with $800 and a baby.
Yeah.
I rented an apartment above Rotation's bicycle shop.
In Southampton.
Yeah. That was in 1993.
Holy shit.
I had no properties, no houses.
Yeah.
I had to start from scratch.
Yeah.
Again. And I've told my sons, I said, some of my fondest memories in life is that stuff of slipping into the ocean to go hunt.
Yeah.
To go get food because we have like $40.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy because most people would flip out.
Yeah.
But I always knew I was strong. I was relatively young. If I have to, I'll just do what I have to do.
Yeah.
And now I have nothing going on except that I do sell out of my studio pretty steadily because I've been around so long.
Yeah.
Like I said, I had a collector buy a painting recently that hadn't bought one in 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's what I sort of depend on. I do use the internet. The internet does, in some ways, replace a dealer.
Yeah.
Because we can communicate with people.
Yeah, totally.
You know what they should study? What art students should study in art school is business.
Yeah, I agree.
You're a businessman.
Yeah.
It's my contracting helped me. I remember one time going to a job interview to see if we're, to do an estimate. And I took one of the guys that worked for me. He just happened to be with me, so he came with me. And we walk in. I turn around, and he's got his sunglasses on. And I'm thinking, take your sunglasses off.
Yeah.
But I can't say anything. I'm talking to the people. He never took the sunglasses off. He looked like a serial murderer.
He's got the reflective lens.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And he had a weird way of talking anyways. He always kind of muttered.
Yeah.
So it's like I brought Charles Manson to the job.
Totally. Yeah.
So when we left, I said, well, we're not getting that job. And he goes, how do you know? And I said, well, you never took your sunglasses off. And he goes, oh. That's just common sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more about studying business and understanding business, because one of the biggest disconnects, and a lot of my friends that are artists, they're just like, I just don't understand. I'm not good at the business side. I'm not good. I'm like, well,
you pull that art card, that's a mistake.
I think the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I would.
You better be good at it, otherwise you're going to be someone's lackey.
You're just waiting for somebody to pick up the reins and drive your cart, because ultimately that's if you're not good with business, you're not going to have a successful business model. You have a product. Ultimately, you do have a product, and you're selling a product.
Well, you're in the marketplace right next to the skin goats and the brass pans.
Exactly.
And there you are with my art.
Yeah, like, you need this in your house.
And everybody is, and nobody needs it.
Yeah.
Nobody needs art.
That's right.
I have collectors tell me, yes, we do need it.
Yeah.
It's food for our brains.
Yeah.
And our soul and stuff. And I say, God bless you. I say, I have a shrine for you in my home. But, I'm very aware of the fact that nobody needs it.
Yeah.
And, hell, I'm on Social Security now, so I could buy a $2,000.
Hell yeah. That's well earned.
I don't need anything like shopping.
Yeah.
I go into shop and it's like, get me out of here.
Yeah, totally.
I am part of a consumer culture.
Yeah.
I need people to buy my paintings.
Yeah.
But I hate shopping.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine who's been gaining weight for 30 years. He's been giving me his clothes, and I give him like a small painting.
Yeah.
And it's like, the clothes will have tags on them.
That's amazing.
All these clothes are his.
Really?
This is Peter Hirsch's clothes.
That's amazing.
I'm not Paton Miller, I'm Peter Hirsch.
Yes.
And he goes, his mom buys him clothes.
Yeah.
And his mom just passed away, and this guy's been my friend since like college.
Yeah.
And he's just a big guy. He's my size, but he's gained a little weight.
Yeah.
And so he keeps giving me like amazing clothes.
Totally.
Clothes I would never buy. Ralph Lauren.
Yeah.
All these beautiful clothes.
Right.
And it's like, I look great in his clothes.
That's amazing. That's the way to do it, honestly.
Well, I've actually, when I lived above Rotations, I got to know the owner of Rotations, so I bartered with him. We bought inline skates, bicycles, helmets, clothes. He's got a collection of my paintings. Dakzowski did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love bartering paintings.
I love bartering too.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Yeah. And the IRS can go to hell.
Yeah, fuck them.
You said that, not me.
Yeah. Allegedly. We'll have to bleep that out, Emily.
No, I'd say fuck them,
Yeah.
Right.
But no, I mean, honestly, it's nice that we can barter. It is a very primitive thing. I mean, back to when we used to trade animal skins or what have you. It's nice to be able to barter things with goods, and I've done the same thing. I've bartered, I've gone back and forth with paintings or sculptures from people, like, hey, let's do an artist trade. I really love doing that, honestly.
Yeah, I've never had a problem either. I've
never
had anybody kind of shortchange me or anything.
Yeah,
It's always been good.
Yeah, especially artist to artist too. It's just I love having other artists work in my home too. I do collect like my friends' art and people that I works that I love. But so yeah, I feel you on that. But what are you working on currently? I mean,
I told you I'm working on
the one painting. But as far, I mean, are you kind of just gearing up for the art center gig in January?
No, that's all happens through osmosis.
Okay, yeah.
I do a little bit every day.
Yeah. You have all your artists.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's looming on the horizon, and I don't know how it's going to go because of COVID-19. We had openings that are 800 people. You saw it.
Yeah, I know.
It was packed.
It was packed.
We're not doing that this time.
You guys gonna have a speaking portion?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're gonna do it.
Yeah, right.
I suppose we could do a speaking thing.
Yeah.
It's all I work with Amy Kerwin on that.
Yeah.
And she's
Amy's great.
Amy's amazing. Amy is one of the people who can chew gum and walk at the same time.
Yeah, I love those types of people.
If I chew gum and walk, I'm gonna be walking, chewing, And you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get where you're going. I get where you're going
I'll
with
screw
it.
it up. If I can screw it up somewhere, I'll screw it up. But
Yeah.
she's actually one of those people who multitask like crazy. I just adore her.
Those are the glue that hold those types of places together.
Yeah, boy, does she.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got Tom Dunn is a great guy too, and Godfrey, and it's a good crew over there.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's interesting. When I told you the first show, I thought it was one and done.
Yeah.
It wouldn't happen again. Now we're on number 6.
Yeah.
A big part of that is because we all get along really well.
Yeah.
And I try really hard not to be a pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the artists I've worked with too have been really good. It's funny about artists. The ones with the big careers that are the easiest going.
Yeah.
The ones that are just kind of starting out can have a tendency to be a little bit like snapping chihuahuas.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I've dealt with that too. I've curated a couple of things in the city, and it's just like, hey, listen, we're in this together here.
Yeah,
like I'm doing this for all of us here.
Yeah.
Like we're on the same team.
Yeah.
But it is. I've experienced that too.
Yeah, it doesn't behoove it. It doesn't help artists at all to be a pain in the ass.
At all.
No.
Well, I think sometimes people get it in their head that I'm the artist and I need to have this little bit dramaticism, but I slowly see that eroding away, which I'm so happy about.
That's a big mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Because that's just a chump attitude.
Yeah, and what I've been realizing lately, there's a lot of people are taking. I've been dealing with a lot of professionals, of people that just really treat their craft so professionally, and it's so refreshing.
Yeah,
because
all walks of life.
Well, yeah, but more in art, because like in art mostly, like I deal with a lot of just people are just really just out to lunch on some shit. Like I'm not a business person, or my manager handles that, my agent handles it. I'm like, well, dude, what the fuck? Yeah, like what are you talking about, your agent? Like, no, I'm trying to talk to you. I'm trying to call you, or they won't pick up the phone. They'll only text you. It's like, listen, man, like let's communicate here.
Well, like I said, when I left that long-term gallery, it was not a personal thing against the dealer at all. I loved her. Yeah. But I just felt like I had to take the reins. Yeah. I was a father. Yeah. Becoming a father changed everything for me.
I think it does for a lot of people.
I would go to. I used to have land in Portugal. I'd go to Portugal for 2 months. Yeah. Just willy-nilly. Yeah. All of a sudden, I'm in Portugal for 2 months. It was great. Yeah. But when you become a father, it's like, well, it's no longer about you. Yeah. Which is a great. The brain of the artist, the brain of anybody really is a kind of a cul-de-sac. Yeah. It's a limited area. You can only go so far, and after a while, that cul-de-sac starts looking like a ghetto. Yeah. And the kids sort of blow a hole in that whole thing, and you get to go further and farther than you ever thought. Yeah. For me, it's been a great personal, discovery. And now, like going back to the beginning of this conversation, now they're back. Now they're back. Yeah. And it's really a lot of fun. And better than ever. Yeah, it's nice to provide a sanctuary for them. Yeah. I think that's there's value in that. Oh, it's great. And our house has improved. Yeah. There was a room in the basement that it became like a horrible storage room. Just awful. I mean, the kids had painted on the walls. It looked like an insane person lived there. Yeah. And we turned it into an editing bay. It's a full-size bedroom down there. Yeah, it's nice. That was wasted space. The bicycle shed that was over by our koi pond was just like that. It had sort of just fallen apart. Nancy and I just didn't have the energy to do it. Yeah. It's a bit, we have 3 acres. Yeah, we've got a lot to handle here. And that the kids got involved in that and stripped it down and turned it into a beautiful little salon. Yeah. And that's where they can go and hang out and get away from us. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, that's an interesting evolution. It's been great. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a horrible time now. People are dying and stuff, and it's getting worse. But you got to take a little bit of. You have to have a little bit of, find a little bit of shine in a. I think what's that old saying? How many ways can you polish a turd? Yeah. Because it really is genuinely wonderful for us in this respect. I think so too. I think there is a big silver lining to. But it is dangerous, and it's tough times, and times are getting worse. I mean, the news is not good. Yeah, the news is not good. No, the news for sure. 200,000 cases a day. Yeah, or something. I don't understand how that happens. I don't either. I don't even know how news happens at this point, to be honest. It all seems a little scary. Well, I remember Nixon. Yeah. So, and I've known a lot of people remember the Nazis. Yeah. So there's always something. There's always a thing. Yeah. There's always an enemy. I have faith in this country, though. It has a tendency to right itself. Yeah. And I think it just righted itself in a big way. Yeah. Well, it's nice to hear you say that you do have faith, because this country has allowed you to pursue this passion. When I got back from that trip through Asia, I don't think I realized how much I appreciate this country. Yeah. You know, when I was in India, I saw elephantitis on the street.
Yeah.
You know what elephantitis looks like?
Oh, it's scary.
It looks like elephants.
It literally looks like
Yeah.
Why is that so prevalent over there, or prevalent over there? Like it seems like it's
I couldn't tell you.
in the water or something, huh?
Could not tell you.
Yeah.
But it's you know, I saw a lot of. In India, it's funny because you could walk down the street and you have a saint on your left and a killer on your right.
Right. Yeah, and not even know.
Well, you kind of know.
You kind of do know.
Yeah.
Kind of like the guy trying to blend in with the other crowd in Bali.
I'm kidding. You know, you just feel like it's like it's. I mean, it was an amazing experience. When I wanted to do that, it was hard too because it was a lot of third class rail and you know, I traveled from India into Nepal on the back of a truck full of wood. I mean, we're talking like looking over the edge of, you know, precipices that are thousands of feet down.
Wow.
As you snake your way over that spur of the Himalayas that separates the two countries. You know, it was a great thing to do when I was young.
Yeah.
But now I love my home and my family. You know, I'm the simplest guy in the world. I just wake up, make coffee for my wife, and either go surfing or play a sport.
Yeah.
And then go to the studio.
That's amazing.
It doesn't cost anything.
What else do you need in life?
Not much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't need much. Yeah.
I know. I agree. I think that the simpler things are very nice.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm glad I didn't screw it up.
yeah, I don't think you did.
No.
You raised a beautiful family.
My wife still loves me, apparently.
That's a humongous thing in today's times, especially.
The kids seem to think I'm interesting or kind of oddly funny.
That's a huge win.
I was referring to a 4012K.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
I never had one. And my son just found that to be the funniest thing in the world. You know, Dad is like this primitive guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they think I'm something from like an olden time. Yeah?
Well, you kind of are.
I guess I am.
You kind of are. I mean, I remember you were telling me a story before when you lost all your paintings in the street. You got hit you think you're in a truck.
Oh, no. I was bringing a painting home from the gallery in Southampton, a gallery that I was working with. And I thought, it'll stay in the back of the truck. And so I drive down North Main Street, take a left on the County Road 39. I'm coming up past Burger King, you know, P.C. Richards, and right by that there's a church there. There's like a snake charmer church. On their thing they say, you know, you're going straight to hell, you know, you miserable bastard, unless you come to us.
Yeah.
Right? Well, right there it blew off, and it was a big painting. It was 6 by 8 feet, and so I pulled into their parking lot, jumped out just in time with my son, my older son. This was actually a great father-son moment. Jumped out, and a pulse. This is like 11 o'clock at night, but you know how traffic comes in pulses. A pulse of cars come running. The painting was on the highway, and these cars just one after another, bang, and wood's flying everywhere.
Oh shit!
Right, and I start laughing because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And my son's kind of going.
Oh,
Then he
shit.
sees me laughing, and it was just a nice moment.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't going, oh my God, my masterpiece.
Yeah.
And then the pulse ended, and then a semi truck went over it.
No.
Yeah, just like a final.
Just pulverized it.
So then there was no cars at all. It was 11 o'clock at night, and there was no cars for miles. So we ran out, and I just pick it up and throw it in the back of my truck. I said, I'll deal with it in the morning.
Yeah.
In the morning, I unrolled it, and I took it out of the truck, put it in my studio, and it was fine.
It was good.
Yeah, it landed face down. So the wood that it came off was the stretchers, but the canvas itself wasn't torn
At all.
at all.
That's crazy.
The painting was in fine shape. Had a tire track across its back.
Yeah.
And I showed that at a big exhibition that I was the guest star artist in Portland, Oregon.
No.
And it now hangs in one of the premier houses in Portland.
That's hilarious.
And I've been thinking that I should write to them and tell them to look on the back of that.
Yeah.
It's got a tire track across its back.
There's a Firestone down the back.
It's funny, it's diagonal too.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But the father-son part that I thought was great was the fact that I wasn't so precious.
Yeah.
I wasn't like going, oh, my masterpiece.
Showing
It
him.
was like, how the heck with it.
Showing him to be fluid in life as well. Yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah.
Where do people find your work online?
Oh, my website is my name.
Paton Miller.
Yeah, Paton. It's one T. It's not two T's. PatonMiller.com.
Yeah.
Luckily, with that strange name, I'm the only one in the world.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's great. My parents were going to name me Eric, And a friend said, "You got a wonderful family name. It's the last name. My first name's the last name."
Yeah.
And so they listened to her. They named me Paton
That's amazing.
instead of Eric.
That's hilarious.
It's really quite good because there's lots of Erics.
There's lots of Erics. Yeah, I don't know any Patons.
No, there are Patons who have that name. It was the last name, so there are people who have the last name, have that family name. But I've never met a Paton first name.
Yeah, I don't think.
There probably is one. There's millions of people out there, but they're probably not artists.
Yeah. I don't know any Paton. I don't think I've ever met a Paton, to be honest, as a first name. Lastly, I was remembering or recalling that you had told me that you went to Cuba.
Yeah, I had a show in Cuba. It was really great.
When was that?
That was about 4 years ago.
Can we?
No, it was actually right after Trump became president, because Jeffrey De Laurentiis, the ambassador to Cuba appointed by Obama, didn't last. He quit.
Yeah.
Because of Trump.
Right. Is that what allowed us to start going there?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Trump, Obama opened it up.
Right.
And he was it wasn't, they didn't have official status yet, so he wasn't the ambassador. He was in charge of the affairs or something like that, but he was the boss.
Yeah.
He was basically the ambassador, and he collects my work. Now, that dealer I was with for all those years, 14 years or so, had sold him a painting. But I didn't know, because one of the things that happens sometimes is that you get the check, and maybe there's a note that Jeffrey De Laurentiis bought your painting, but you forget.
Yeah.
And one thing I've not been good at is record keeping.
Right.
It's a terrible fault, and artists out there who are listening to this should keep good records.
Yeah.
Especially if there's ever a catalog raisonné of your work, it'll help out.
Yeah.
You don't have to put the person who writes that catalog raisonné won't have to put an ad in the paper asking people, if you own Paton Miller paintings, please contact me because I'm making a catalog raisonné.
Yeah.
Right? It's there's certain things that I failed at. That's one of them.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that this guy, who was an important State Department fellow and a wonderful guy, bought a painting of mine. And he liked it so much, he included my work in a show in the embassy in Cuba. And actually, not the embassy, but the residence,
right,
which is really where all the important stuff happens.
Yeah.
And since then, we've become friends, and he has continued to buy my work. So that's how I make a living as an artist.
Yeah.
Sort of fall from one thing to the next.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that trip that Nancy and I took to Cuba was fantastic.
Yeah, I bet.
And we got off the plane, and next thing we know, we're hanging out with the ambassador of Cuba.
You're like, what the hell?
That's cool.
You're like, what the hell?
That's very cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and this guy's was doing very important work.
Yeah.
Opening up doors to, why shouldn't we be open to Cuba?
Yeah.
We battled Germany for 4 years. In Japan, we have relations with them.
Yeah.
Why not Cuba?
Yeah.
What the hell? What's with Cuba? A special situation where we can never deal with Cuba?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we dropped atom bombs on Japan. They deal with us.
Yeah.
I don't get it. You know?
I don't either.
I don't get it.
So are we still allowed to go there?
I think it's gotten back. It went back
the other way.
Bad.
Yeah, I think so
it's
too.
It's gonna go back to good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the hell?
What the hell's that all about?
I know. I don't.
You got a handful of people in Cuba who are upset about what Castro did. What about the Holocaust?
Right. Yeah.
You can fly to Germany.
Yeah.
You know, no one's stopping you there.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective. Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
So when you guys were there, you guys cruising around in the old cars.
Yeah. We did all the tourist things.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. I remember being we went to the ocean one swimming. I realized I was really in bad condition. Sometimes you're in good condition, and other times you're not.
Yeah.
I remember being like, sort of like, because it was winter, and so it was nice to go to Cuba, but I remember feeling weak and pale.
While being there.
Yeah. I said, man, I'm in bad shape. What happened?
God damn it.
Because you can get in bad shape fast.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy how fast it happens.
Yeah. So I remember thinking that. I'm going, I'm like translucent, man. I can see right through my body.
I feel that way even already going into this winter.
Yeah, it's always a challenge.
Yeah, I feel healthy for the most part, but I feel like I was looking at my my pigment. I was like, man, I'm already losing my tan. Yeah. And because generally in the summertime, I'm working with a shirt on, but I'm outside all day every day, so I have a permanent white T-shirt at all times. But it's amazing how healthy. Obviously, people abuse everything, but the sun is so good for your skin.
It is.
When you have slightly sun-kissed skin, it feels so healthy. You have salt in your hair from the sea. That is just.
Well, that's what I'm telling you about surfing the other day. I just felt so good when I got out of the water.
It's like it really is as a fountain of youth when you come out sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. I never did any other sports really.
Yeah.
The pickleball is sort of just something that I enjoy doing. But,
Yeah.
You know, the sport that I was always good at was surfing.
Yeah.
And body surfing.
Yeah.
The Hawaiians have a way of body surfing. When you take off on a wave, your stomach is facing the sky. There's a reason for that.
So you're like this?
So you're paddling and the wave is coming at you. You need split-second timing. So if you turn your back and swim for it
and kick,
you can't see the wave.
Yeah.
So you have to have fins on to do this.
Right.
And you catch the wave as it's coming at you.
And then you turn
with your stomach. Then you do a spinner.
You're right. And then you have your hand down. Yeah.
But to turn your back on the wave at the most important part is crazy.
Yeah.
And I grew up on the south shore of Oahu, and the place that I used to go to was Sandy Beach, which is a premier world-class body surfing spot. And that's what I just went there and just like, all the crazy shit that was going on.
Yeah.
That was my go-to place.
Yeah.
And you know how athletics are so important for young men, young women. Just to get out of your head.
I think the same. Yeah. I think athleticism is very underrated lately for a lot of the youth.
Well, the whole gaming thing, sitting in your chair. We went through that with our younger son. He was an expert gamer. It's almost like they're training people to go on interstellar flight. They can sit in a chair forever. Yeah. And he won that battle. Yeah. We gave up. Nancy said, "Look, we're fighting too much with Christian. We want to make this home feel like a sanctuary for him, and so we just have to let him do that. If he wants to do that for the next 2 years, he'll sit in a chair and play games. It drove me nuts at first.
No, I'm sure.
I'm just old school. I just think he should go out and run and play.
Yeah.
But he turned out just fine.
Yeah, he's a sharp kid.
Yeah, and Nancy was right. I to my credit, I listened to her. I said, "Okay, we'll take the Zen thing," because he was we'll just let him do what he wants to do. Yeah. Parenting is tough.
It's got to be so hard.
Sometimes you go let him do what he wants to do, and other times you can't.
Yeah.
But this time he wasn't hurting anybody.
Yeah, that's true.
And I've been lucky. Neither of my kids were into drugs. Really. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's like they're building a mentality as well. I think that you're doing a mental puzzle when you're playing games a lot of times. So. Yeah. My younger brother, he was huge into gaming, but he's also an athletic beast.
Chance.
So Chance, who you know,
he looks like an athletic guy.
But he's the biggest gamer nerd ever. And then we used to make fun of him, but then it's like you watch him play the game, you're like, he's actually kind of sick at it.
Yeah, I went to one of those things. It wasn't Comic-Con, but it was one of those big events in Madison Square Garden. Yeah, those playoffs and stuff. There were people flipping out, jumping out of their chairs. I had no idea what was going on. I was just sitting there. All of a sudden, somebody would jump up and scream. Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. I mean, it came out of nowhere.
Yeah. There's like these pale 14-year-olds signing autographs.
There were rock stars.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I didn't get it. I still don't know what the hell they were jumping out of the chairs about.
Yeah. Yeah. When you were surfing in Hawaii, what was it like in the lineup out there with the Hawaiians? I mean, I know even
strict rules.
And it's a little aggressive, no? It was probably a lot different then.
I never had any problems, but I got chased out of the water a few times being a white kid.
Yeah.
There's a haole thing. That's what white kids were called, but I got along fine with everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just rules, like etiquette.
And respect.
Yeah, respect and etiquette. And if you go out there and think you're going to take over the lineup, you're probably going to get punched in the face. Mm-hmm. Hawaiians Hawaiians or Samoans or Polynesians, they like to fight. Yeah. That's why they're so good in the NFL. Yeah. I hate fighting. I saw a fight in a parking lot at Sandy Beach once and it turned my stomach.
Really?
It was just vicious.
Yeah, it's just ugh.
I'm too smart to fight.
Yeah.
You're gonna lose.
Yeah.
But back in those days, things have changed.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've changed much in Hawaii. Some things have gotten worse. The homeless situation in Hawaii is out of control.
That's what I've heard as well.
It's just crazy bad. But that's the same way on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Santa Barbara. My son.
Holy shit.
It's just Santa Barbara is this Tony town and it's full of homeless people.
I know. I have a lot of friends moving out of LA right now.
My son, I told you, my older boy did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear there's homeless people everywhere.
It's literally full tent cities.
Yeah.
Which is, I can't even fathom that is something that people drive by every day. And yet we want to be mad about all this other shit that's going on, but you just drive by that every single day. That's,
I remember seeing that in the Philippines and thinking, God, that's terrible.
It's fucked up.
Just like I had a show in the Philippines and the art dealer's house had homeless people living outside the gate. You know, you chauffeur-driven limousine sort of thing. You know,
Yeah.
you drive out and there's these people just with their hands out.
Yeah.
And that was like 15 years ago, and that reality is coming here.
Yeah.
I sometimes drive around this area we live in, and I think we live in a park. You know.
It's tough to not lose perspective sometimes, because actually there was a homeless gentleman under the bridge in Sag Harbor by 7-Eleven. We got to talking, and the next day he was removed and they brought him somewhere else. But you know, they don't really, you know, stand for people being out here. They'll relocate them. But it was funny, not funny, but it was something that kind of like had me thinking. I was walking home barefoot one night. It was like 1:00 in the morning. I was just like, I'm gonna walk home. It was like a really nice night, and so I walked. There's a dirt path that connects my house with one of my friends' houses, and so it's a long dirt path, and I'm walking barefoot. It was pretty chilly, and I was just thinking to myself, imagining being shoeless, underclothed, not having like a shelter, and if your shelter is just trying to get out of the wind, let's say, or just trying to find like it's really hard to fathom. It's very hard for people to fathom what that actually is. And man, I got home and I know it sounds somewhat pretentious, but I was like, I can take a shower. Like, I have this huge luxury that I even have warm water, you know, so. Yeah,
no, it's very sad. And you know, a lot of times it's from dysfunction. It's from mental illness.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But also not, you know, I was actually in New Orleans.
That's a horrible thing to say,
but it is a large percentage for sure. But I met this family. They had 2 young kids, and they were kind of on the hide because they had the 2 kids. They didn't want their kids getting yanked, but they were living under a bridge with all the other homeless people, and they just moved from some state, Ohio or something like that. So they moved down to Louisiana, and he was supposed to work on a fishing boat, but it fell through, and blah 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 blah. And then, you know, you meet these people.
Can turn against you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't. It's hard for me to imagine because I've been here for so long, and I think you know, one thing good about sort of having a community that, you know, if you needed to, you could find a job somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, someone would hire you.
Yeah.
You know, or
doing something.
Yeah. But if the economy is really flat and there's no jobs, then that's the problem.
Yeah.
I remember seeing something on TV where the people were there was no jobs.
Yeah.
You know, someplace out in Michigan or someplace, and people were getting evicted.
Yeah, and they have no savings to pick up and go follow the work or go get a new spot. Yeah,
it makes the proposition of being an artist seem even more crazy.
Well, it does, but it's one of the things that, like, I guess I am kind of tying it in with is it's like the fact that there is a community of art that is surrounding something like that. I think a lot of people lose sight and think that, oh, there's, you know, numbers exchanged for art and why, and I could have painted that and all this bullshit. But I think that the empathy that a lot of artists harness, it goes back into community and things like that. So I think that's kind of been one of my realizations is, you know, how do I turn this art into less of a me situation and more of a communal aspect, and that was something I kind of realized, you know, early on, like, how do I make this where it's not like, oh, just come look at my art. How do you come look at my art? Yes, but how do I take that and turn it into something where it's doing a bigger good, a greater good for other people? Because the way the art was introduced to me was very pretentious, if I'm being honest. Because, like, I always painted and sculpted and did things growing up, but when I started talking about, like, wanting to have a show and sell my work and you know, wondering if I was worthy to even do so, the people I talked to, like, you know, in that moment were both sides of the coin. One being a local artist like John Messenger, who gave me such good advice, and we had such epic conversations about actuality and seeking truth as an artist, let's say, or, you know, portraying the truth to you on a piece of canvas, let's say. But then I talked to other people, and they gave me some shit advice to be completely
parse that advice stuff.
You know, so it's like, you know, and then, like, what matters and what gallery's important and who's important. I'm almost like, I can't start painting for any of those reasons.
There's artists that I really admire. There's a guy named Bill Traylor. You ever hear of him? He was African American, and he painted on the cardboard sleeves from laundries, come in his shirt. You know?
Yeah.
And his pictures are just gorgeous.
Really?
He did it just for himself.
Yeah.
And then his work kind of got well known. I don't know if it got well known in his lifetime, but they're just beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think artists exist. If there was no business, you still have artists.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be the dyed in the wool kind of thing.
Yeah, I think the same too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Paton, I'm not sure how long we've gone. It seems like we've gone a bit, and I feel like we covered a fair amount. Is there anything else you want to cover?
We can gab.
We can gab.
Yeah. No, I think we covered it.
Yeah.
That's my life in a nutshell.
Okay, and people can. So, and on Instagram, it's just your name.
Yeah. My website has become static. I don't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
I have to I'm gonna. In fact, that's a project that both my sons actually said that we're gonna straighten that out.
Cool.
But it's a good website. It's got a video on it of me teaching.
Yep.
But the Instagram thing is something I can put pictures in, and I do 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah, I see you posting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on Instagram, everybody go click, follow Paton Miller at Paton Miller on Insta, and that's where he posts a lot of his paintings and what he's currently working on, and also his website patonmiller.com. Epic, Paton. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me, Brett.
No, thank you, man.
It's been fun.
All right, I'll talk to you.
Okay.